Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a great day. And if you're not, I'm very sorry, and I hope you have a better tomorrow. So, everybody, I wanted us to bring up a very interesting topic to discuss, and this was a very interesting one I thought I'd bring it all of you. So, if everybody remembers, Jaune had his own arc in RWBY Volume 1. A lot of people had an issue with it, and some people even commented Carrie and Miles, like commented at them specifically saying, "Hey, this is supposed to be Ruby, not Juniper." And honestly, I have to say that Ruby's characters. The thing is, Team Ruby, yes, they are very important, but as at the same time, they have to literally build up characters such as Jaune and the rest of his team. And this arc being dedicated solely to Jaune was personally a very good thing because Jaune needed this arc. Jaune really needed it. And I gotta say, I think Carrie and Miles did a very good job on Jaune's arc because it built his character up, and that's obviously what it was intended to do. But because realistically, he was nothing but a farm boy who had dreams to become, a huntsman, just like his, family that had become, warriors in the past, like huntsmen before, which obviously we found out in the arc. But before this, he just seemed like a kind, person that didn't really know a whole lot, or was goofy, just maybe just klutzy. But it gets interesting because not only do we learn about Jaune, but we, kind of get more of an inside look at Team Juniper. And, realistically, this helped everybody become more attached to these characters. And I personally think that that was actually a good thing. So, I just want to say, Carrie and Miles, if you ever get to check out this video, hopefully this will be a positivity to you. And to everybody else, hope you all will enjoy this as well. But I just gotta say, not only did this jump onto Jaune, but and the rest of Team Juniper, but it really flushed out more Jaune and Pyrrha than it did anybody else. But that's not a bad thing. That was actually a very good thing, and people really do actually enjoy a lot of Team Juniper. And honestly, I have to say, I think this arc was actually a very suitable one for their developments, and to give us an insight look at their characters as well. So let's get into this discussion and let's start talking about this. So as we know, this starts off in Jaundice, and this starts off with Jaune himself fighting off against Carden, and Carden is actually beating him. And Jaune is inexperienced, so he didn't realize to look at his aura gauge on his scroll. And that's what Glinda kind of throws at him. Glinda Goodwitch. She tells him that it seems like he needs to pay more attention to his aura gauge, and that this will potentially help him become better as a fighter in the future. And so the thing that we get is, we get a, pretty good, lunch scene here, and Nora. The thing we learn about Nora and like Rin, Nora kind of exaggerates her stories here, because she was exaggerating the apparently dream she had, and Rin kept kind of, being like, "Hey, no, this is not right. This is what happened." And realistically, it was actually very funny to actually see their interactions and see, a little bit into their characters a little more. Now, of course, as this goes on, they start asking about Jaune and if he's all right, because Carden, as we see that Carden is picking on Velvet, and it's just rude. And apparently his teammates clearly don't give a crap either because they were just sitting there watching, and it was a very rude confrontation. And honestly, to a faunus, that's actually just an insult, to just make fun of them like that for having animal-like features. So of course, Carden just thinks this is funny, even if it is insulting to Velvet, and she runs off upset about, the whole confrontation, which obviously didn't help anything. And of course, they all make statements saying that Carden's nothing but a bully and that he's rude. And Jaune then tries to make the statement, hey, he's not such a bad guy, right? Well, realistically, he started doing a lot of terrible things, pulling bad pranks like putting Jaune in a locker and shooting him out of the school, or unfolding his shield, for example. Those are two of the pranks that he did. And Nora comes up with, in my opinion, probably the best line, or at least one of the best lines in Volume 1, which was, "Let's break his legs." Absolutely comical. And, everybody said that, this is not right, and that, Jaune should actually, if he needs help, then they would be there for him, just to basically say it. And Jaune basically doesn't want to really tell them that he is a bully, but he's being rude to them. Obviously, as we know, Pyrrha does make a confrontation with Jaune because he's having a hard time with this, and it shows Pyrrha's care. It shows her concern, not just as because she likes Jaune, but the fact that she is a friend and she's trying to help him. And what does he do? He pushes her away and tells her his story of how he basically used fake transcripts to get into Beacon, and obviously, well, that was wrong. But of course, below them in the window, listening, was Carden. And of course, Carden then blackmails him after Pyrrha, walks off. Before Carden gets there, she walks off, and Carden starts, saying, "Hey, buddy, I heard about your little story you told your friend there. So how about we just go ahead and blackmail you? Because if you don't do what I tell you, you're getting out of the school." And obviously, bullies are awful. I'm sure, people that are watching this have had a bully at one time, or somebody that just rude to them. They were awful. So, Carden wants to get revenge because, he's just a rude person. I mean, as we saw within the class part before, this, in Oobleck's class, he's, basically, starts, picking on Jaune, which gets them both in trouble. Now, of course, as we lead on to, like, the part where it's in the Forever Fall, in the forest, thing is, a bad confrontation goes down, and basically Carden wants to get revenge on on Jaune's team. Overall, he says that he doesn't want that to happen. So he stands up to Carden after apparently nights of him doing his homework for him and things of this sort, which of course makes his team weary. But he finally stands up to him after all this time of Carden making fun of him. And of course, Pyrrha doesn't want this to happen. Like, she doesn't want, because like whenever they hear about the Ursa attacking, Pyrrha does not want Ruby or Weiss to jump in. So as this happens, Carden almost gets killed by the Ursa, and so Jaune jumps in to help him. Well, Pyrrha uses her semblance, which is polarity, as we learn, and uses it to block the attack with the shield, takes the sword, and cuts off the Ursa's head. Which this actually developed Jaune's character pretty well because he stood up to Carden. Because he was going to pick on his team, which, well, he was actually targeting Pyrrha, but basically his team in general, which was honestly wrong. And at the end, he pretty much is like, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry." And he's like, "Don't you ever mess with my team again." That's what Jaune says. And, maybe that was a little bit of light for Carden. Maybe not. Who knows? If he comes back and later on in the series, maybe he will change his character. Who knows? But later on, we get this whole insight of Pyrrha training Jaune, and Jaune decides, he wants the help because previously the reason why Pyrrha walked away was because he didn't want help. But realistically, he knows he does, and she starts playfully joking by pushing him down, saying that his pose was all wrong. But realistically, this actually became a good thing because we learned a little bit about Juniper. We learned, about the caring nature of Pyrrha. We learned about, how his team actually cares about him, even after a short period of time of knowing him. And Jaune actually jumped up as a character, which I think personally was a great thing to stand up for his team after being cowardly, kind of. And obviously, this sprouted a lot of, Arcos, shipping because yeah, but hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I gotta say, thank you all for watching. If you want to see more like this, subscribe. If you like the video, hit it with a like, and I hope you all enjoyed this, and y'all are great, and hope you all have an excellent day. Take care.